Good morning, everyone. How are we doing today? We have the one, the only, and legendary Jonathan Twomley for episode number 3. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing well. So you teased a quote just as we were getting ready to record today that I said, you know what, that's going to be episode number 3. Why don't you read it for the audience? Because there's a lot of subtleties in it. It kind of hit me. I'm like, yep, I agree with it 100%.
So this is a quote from a very experienced forex trader who's the head of Societe Generale's foreign exchange desk. His name is Kit Juice, and his quote, and here he's talking about Bitcoin, but this really applies to any number of assets, whether the stock market, real estate, whatever. But the quote is, if enough people think that it's really easy to make money, then what's in trouble is your money. Now,
yeah, folks, that should be a bumper sticker because
if enough people think it's really easy to make money, then what's in trouble is your money.
Yeah, I've told people many times that whenever I see a herd and they're all running one direction, it's because they have fear of missing out or they're easy money. Beginner. I mean, I have this formula, right? Fear of missing out, beginner's luck, leverage, financial ruin. And that quote kind of sums it up. And I saw this in the .com. I saw this in real estate. It's going to happen in multifamily, I think, because people have cap rates. I mean, it's happening in crypto. It will happen again. It happened in tulip bulbs. It happened here. It happened there. If too many people think it's easy to make money, what's in trouble is your money. Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah, the reason that this is a problem, if you think about it, is that when people perceive that it's easy to make money, actually two things happen. So one is that their risk reward calculus gets out of whack, right? Yes. They stop being cautious and they start just like throwing money into stuff. And this is, what you saw in 2008 when, people could get easy loans and they were owning 5 houses.
Yeah.
Even though they had, they were making $50,000 a year, they got 5 loans for houses, and, they all were rich on paper for a while. And, and they thought this was really easy because they could sell their house to the next person.
Yeah.
Right. What happens is that people's risk reward, they stop worrying about what if I lose, because they start thinking they can't.
Yep.
And we've been in this situation since 2009, essentially, 2010, where in real estate, and particularly multifamily real estate, nobody has lost. And even through COVID. Now, listen, there are some people who got whacked really hard by COVID, by the moratoriums and by people not being able to pay rent. And that is yet to shake out. We're going to see that coming.
Yep.
But other than those people, there's this idea that like, wow, not even a global pandemic can knock multifamily off of its
I can hear it already.
Foundation. And of course, it took gobs and gobs of federal money to make this possible, but there are now people who also believe that, listen, the Fed is always going to bail us out, so you can't lose, right? And so the risk reward calculus has gotten out of whack. The other thing that happens is that, when you're early on in the cycle and it's hard and the banks aren't throwing money at you and investors aren't throwing money at you, you have to work really hard to find deals that are enticing enough to get people off the sidelines. Right now, so that takes a lot of work, right? And as you're going up the cycle, it still takes a lot of work to find good deals that make sense, that are going to make money, that have the right risk-adjusted return, getting them for the right price. There's a lot of work that goes into this, a lot of analysis. But what happens is when the market momentum gets really turned on, like it is now, you don't need to do any of that. You can just buy something and know that you can flip it to somebody else if it's not working, because it's easy, because everybody wants these deals because they're all convinced it's easy, right?
Yeah.
So, and that is where bubbles come from. Now, that's the second part of that quote, your money, what's in trouble is your money, means that basically, like, your money is now in a much weaker position. It is much more likely to be lost because it is now part of this inflated bubble. But unless you've got cash that's on the sidelines, any money that's invested into these assets is now basically at risk.
Well, right? That's where I think a lot of people get in trouble, is because I think you're right. It's the risk reward profile. But what I have seen from people, and again, I go back to the .com crash, and I experienced it and been very clear. I lost a lot of money. people come in and they're like, hey, it seems interesting. People are making money. I'll give it a shot. I will invest what I can afford to lose. That's how it starts. And as the mania builds, those people win, right? They have what I call beginner's luck, and they might win spectacularly. And at some point, I actually wrote down the formula, right? Fear of missing out leads to beginner's luck. Beginner's luck leads to somebody doing a what if calculation. And it's that what if calculation that gets you in trouble. What if I had taken all my emergency money instead of just what I could afford to lose? Maybe they put 1,000, maybe they put 10,000, but they could have put 5,000 or 50,000. It's that what if that gets people in trouble. And then, oh my God, if they win again, then financial ruin is right around the corner, because then what they do is they take, they like just invested their emergency fund, which nobody should do, but they did, and they won. Then leverage comes. Then what if is like, oh my God, somebody's going to let me go 100 to 1 in crypto. I can't believe idiots are going 100 to 1 in a speculative asset. And that's why last Wednesday, 832 accounts, with the largest one being $65 million, was taken to zero, because you're going on leverage. And oh, by the way, all of this fake money's gone, your emergency fund's gone, and now you're at zero, folks. It happens every time.
Yeah. And leverage is where the risk is. Like leverage is, it accelerates your returns when things are going well, but it accelerates your losses when things are going badly. And that's why, if you buy, say real estate is a good investment in the sense that it rarely goes to zero, right? If you buy an asset, it's very unlikely that your building is going to go to zero. However, if you have leverage on the asset, your equity can go to zero.
Absolutely.
Right? Because
quickly.
If you're even applying what's considered conservative leverage of 75%, your property can lose 25% of its value very quickly, right? And now if you don't have to refinance and you don't have to sell, you can usually ride that out. But the problem is for the people who have bad timing, right? And they are now underwater when they have to refinance. And that is a bad situation to be in. And the higher the prices go, and then, the more that, the more risky it gets for you. I actually used to do a whole presentation on this. I had these graphics prepared basically to kind of track investor psychology. And it's, the returns are best when the average person thinks it's a bad time to invest. So what happens is, like you were describing with like an individual person investing more and more and more, on top of that, what you see is that people on the sidelines are watching that guy.
Yeah, they're being attracted. Yeah.
And they're saying like, wow, look at how much money he made. The problem is, by the time they notice that first guy made money, they've already missed the opportunity, right? It's already gone.
Yeah, there's such a little bit left. Exactly.
So they didn't put the money in when the risk was the lowest. They're putting their now like emergency fund in as the risk is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But the problem is, the more people who think that it's safe, it's totally counterintuitive, but the more people who think an investment is safe, the more risky that investment gets.
Agree, right? 1,000%. Having experienced it myself, absolutely.
It is, and just think about it, what the cycle looks like, right? And the cycle, what the upswing of the cycle is caused by more and more people jumping in. The top of the cycle is when that last person has jumped in. When there's no further person to jump in after that, because everybody's in, then it goes like this, because that last person can't sell their basically bad investment on momentum to the next guy, because there's no next guy there.
There's no other sucker in the room.
And then the whole thing starts to unravel, right? And you see this in every upswing of the market, and it's all related to investor psychology. And the smart money understands that, and this is why Warren Buffett is saying this for years, and people quote it, but they don't get it, right?
Yeah.
They're like, Warren Buffett says, the time to be greedy is when other people are fearful, and the time to be fearful is when other people are greedy. And the way that most people operate with that quote is, oh, the market dropped, I'm buying the dip.
Yeah.
Because people are afraid. No, nobody's afraid of the dip.
There's no capitulation in a dip.
There's no fear there. Yeah. Fear is when like the banks won't lend money. Like that's when fear is, right? Fear is when rather that when people aren't saying buy the dip because it's going to go back up, they're saying,
Yeah.
you're buying real estate? Are you an idiot? You're going to lose all your
How
money.
stupid are
right?
you?
How stupid are you?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And the stories they're telling are like about how much money they lost, not about how much money they made. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll never do that again. That was a bad idea. And they're pointing fingers like, who can I blame for my
fault, who can I point at? Because it's never my fault. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's what fear is, right?
Yeah.
Fear is when it takes like some serious intestinal fortitude to get into the market, right?
Yeah.
So,
and again, I remember, I mean, the biggest example I have for you is single family real estate, right? I remember going to cocktail parties or meetups, and everybody was talking about flipping contracts and all these making 50 grand. We're in the Valley, so that was what they were making back then. And like not 3-4 years later, nobody would talk about it. And that was the best time to buy, right? 2010. It was crazy.
Exactly. When nobody wants to buy it, when nobody's talking about it, that's the time to buy it. When everybody's talking about it, when you've got, like entire shows on CNBC dedicated to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right.
That's probably a sign. Yeah.
And you've got people who are like analyzing Bitcoin as if there's something to analyze. I love it. I love this. I love the whole idea of like Bitcoin analysis, right? Oh yeah. No, all you got to do is get Elon Musk to say something. There's your,
there's your analysis.
And it'll gyrate all over the place.
Like
just get some influencer. But anyway, so, the point is though that markets have a huge psychological element to them. You have to understand the psychology.
Yeah, totally agree.
And that psychology is what's behind that quote. When everybody thinks it's easy, that means you're basically also, when I started talking about this, and got a little off on a little bit of a tangent, but the good investors put in the work, right?
Yep, totally agree.
And so you have to put in the work to be a good investor. What happens is sometimes you reach a point in the market where you've got all the people who are willing to put in the work, like going, I can't win because I'm putting in the work to buy this at the right price. And there's some idiot who thinks it's easy, who's going to now pay more than me, and I can't get deals, right? And I actually, in response, I wrote an email kind of about this the other day, and a banker wrote back to me and said, I'm seeing this every day. I'm seeing all of the good syndicators that I work with are on the sidelines, and the people who are doing deals are people who don't know what they're doing. Right? Of course, the banks are going to give them money. Right?
Of course, that's what they do. Builders build, banks lend. Yeah. Yeah,
and that's the only way they make money. So they're gonna. So the banks, I know there's also a lot of people out there who are always saying, well, the bank signed off on it, so it must be okay. No, the banks are made up of the same people with the same FOMO and the same momentum, and they can. And the thing is that banker mentality is always CYA, right? So if things are going well, and they lend, and then it blows up, they're like, wasn't my fault. Things were going great. I can't be to blame. But like, if there's a big crash, and then they do a bad deal after the crash, right? And they're like, everyone's going to point fingers at them. What were you lending for? You shouldn't have lent on that. You knew it was a bad environment. Actually, that's the best time that they should be lending, because the risk is it's already been de-risked. The crash has already happened.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing for me, is where the banks went in 2010. I couldn't believe it. I was buying houses for less than land value that actually had houses on them.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't want to lend? Really?
Well, listen,
crazy.
Humans are always fighting the last war.
Yes.
Right? And we see this, so pre-2008, condo developers were just going bonkers, right? People were building
condo conversions. Yeah.
Condo was like crazy, right? Then the crash happens, and what happens? Because they couldn't sell those condos, they all went into rentals.
Yeah.
So for the last 10 years, they've barely been building condos at all. It's all been rentals. But guess what? Now there's going to be a glut of rentals on the market, right? And what about those few guys who were still building condos? I talked to one of them yesterday, a developer in Boston. They only do condos. There's such a limited number of condos on the market because everybody else built rentals that these guys are sold out before they even complete. Right?
That's awesome.
And it's not bubble stuff. It's not because there's a bubble. It's because there's not enough supply.
Supply demand.
That they stuck with it. They kept on building condos.
Good for them.
And this is what you should do. You don't do what everybody else is doing. It's not you will get the results that everybody else gets if you do what everybody else does. You have to do something different.
Very
So-
cool. Well, Jonathan, it's been a wonderful day. Do me a favor. Today's kind of open house day for Multifamily Launchpad. Where can they find it?
So multifamilylaunchpad.org / or / I don't know, this one, the forward, is that forward or back?
Yeah, I don't know.
/join / again. That'll take you there. If they don't get it right, do the other backward / whatever it is. But yeah, multifamilylaunchpad.org /join / and that'll take you to the webpage where you can get all the information and sign up. And I look forward to seeing you inside.
Very cool, folks. Again, don't forget episode 1. He showed you how he raised, or he talked about how he raised $3 million in 24 hours. That's the kind of stuff you get in Multifamily Launchpad. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks, Michael.
You got it.